Hello and welcome to part 3 of our Proxmox series where we will be installing the firewall called OPNsense. So for our project to actually work this time around, we will need more than one interface, a LAN interface and a WAN interface. If you remember the machine that we started Proxmox with, it only had one LAN interface. So I added another NIC with two extra LAN interface, and now we have three. Before we get to install OPNsense, we will have to add those interfaces so they will be recognized when we're gonna have to install the OPNsense. If you remember from our past videos, there is an easy way to add those resources. So what we will have to do is to go to Home, and here we can see the two other interfaces under Network that we will have to build a virtual bridge. So I'm gonna copy the names, make sure I am avoiding misspellings, and we will create a Linux bridge. We will paste the bridge port, and we have VMBR1 added. We will do the same with the third one. Well, actually the second one of our NIC, and we will replicate, and now we have them both added. Now because this it's a hardware change, we will actually have to restart Proxmox. So we'll be right back after we do the restart. With that out of the way, we can actually start creating our VM. So we will click on create VM. We'll give it a name, OPNsense. Under OS, if you remember the ISO. So I already have one downloaded. I'm gonna select this one. The type should be Linux. Can go next. We'll leave it as default. We'll leave default. I'm gonna add two CPUs. Memory, we're gonna leave it 2 gigs because it will be more than enough for this OS, for this firewall. We'll proceed with next. We are not going to make any changes, although we can select one of the two. But on bridge 0, we actually have our LAN connected. There is nothing connected, no cable connected on the other two bridges. So we'll leave it as it is for now to proceed with the installation. Click next, click finish, and we will wait a second for this to spawn. And we can proceed with the installation by clicking start. Installation is complete, but as you can see, we only have one interface and we need to have at least two, as I mentioned. So what we will do next is power off, and we will wait a second, and we will be adding the other two bridges that we created it within Proxmox. Now we need to add it for this VM. So we'll go to hardware. If you remember last time when we added two ISOs for the Windows boot, we will do the same, but this time it will be network. So we will add a network device. We will select the second interface, and you know what? Let's add the third one for good measure. So now we have three interfaces. So once we boot into our VM, we should be able to have three interfaces. And now we are ready to log in. We have another interface. Even though we added two, the other one will be an optional one, and I will show you how to do it. So the default logins for OPNsense will be root with lowercase password of OPNsense, and my keyboard root OPNsense, and we are in. Now we will assign interfaces. Press 1, enter. We do not want to configure lags. We do not want to configure VLANs. And now you can see all three interfaces. And since we are already connected with internet and everything on virtual net 1, which is the virtual bridge that we have and we used before for the other VMs, we will leave that as WAN. So the WAN, you always want it to be connected to your ISP. So that will be VTnet 0 for the WAN, and then for the LAN VTnet 1, and now it will ask us for the optional interface, which we could later on assign virtual IPs and such, but that will be on a future video. So we'll hit this with VTnet 2. We don't have an extra one, so we will skip, which means we simply have to press enter, and everything is configured in terms of interfaces. Do you want to proceed? Yes. I'll give it a moment. I had a little bit of hiccup and I had to switch the LAN with the WAN interface. As you can see here, previously the LAN was VTnet 1 and the WAN was VTnet 0, but for some weird reason I couldn't access the web UI. So now, after testing it, we can actually log in. So as before is the same username, root, and password all lowercase OPNsense. I will not save it for now, but we are in the UI. A lot of options to play around. If you're a beginner, you could use the wizard to configure your firewall, but we will for now look at the options that we have with the configuration, firmware. We can check the status, we can check for updates, and if we do have updates, it should update straight away. There are a bunch of updates here. You can scroll all the way down and click update, and it let us know that it will reboot while it's doing the updates. You should always do that, by the way, with any VM. In our case, we have the ISOs downloaded maybe weeks beforehand, and they usually roll out updates pretty often. It seems that is finished, so we can continue exploring the UI, and first off we will go to interfaces, and as you can see we have the three interfaces that we assign and they are enabled. Now obviously if you're doing this on your home, you might want to assign static IPs, which I will be doing later on because there is a setup where I want to have VLANs into my interfaces to separate the network and make it much more easy to interact, and also for load balancing purposes will be great. There are a lot of great tutorials out there that could teach you more in depth. So since I am at a beginner level, I'm gonna just tone it down and learn as we proceed with the series. Um, with the firewall options, there are a lot of interesting things that you can do. You have some defaults here, but you can create special rules. Obviously, you can select for if you want it for the whole network, for a specific port, maybe a specific URL IP. There are a lot of ways to narrow it down. But we will use this firewall as a ad blocker. As you might have seen videos out there with the pie hole, we will replicate something similar because who is not sick of all those ads? And for those that want extra securities, you have integration with OpenVPN, which I'm a little bit familiar, and WireGuard. There is another one here, but I haven't did any research beforehand. But this is something OPNsense is actually something that I'm using at work on work infrastructure, and WireGuard is also a great way to put some extra fail safes. We will have a look at both of the options later on. The first thing I'm gonna do, and you should do too, is to change the password. If you remember, the default one, it's OPNsense all lowercase, and I'm gonna put something stronger just to avoid security breaches from some things that should be common sense. Great, so we've finished changing the password. If we log out now, the username will still be root, but the password is the one that we just set. And here we are on our dashboard. Well, this is pretty awesome. You will be able to see a lot of data which translate into disk usage, memory usage, CPU usage. Um, we did give it at the beginning of the installation 2 gigabytes of RAM and 2 cores. That should be more than enough to support this project. There is something that I want to change right away because it's bothering my eyes, and that will be the themes. So we'll head out to System, Firmware, Status, and we will be looking at plugins and search for a dark theme. We will install it. So with the theme installed, we will have to apply it, and we will go to System, Settings, General, and under Themes, I will choose the one that we've downloaded. Click Save. And this is much better. There are a lot of other plugins that you could download and play around. Obviously, it will be a learning curve for everybody. So this will be it for this video. If you like the video, please like. Uh, if you want to share it with your friends, that will be awesome. It will be a great help for our channel. And please let us know in the comments how would you approach your OPNsense setup. And I hope seeing you all on our next video.